and then we'll just get started and have fun fellowshipping. How about that?
Amen to that.
And we are live, so some people are already coming in. We want to say hello to everybody. And we're going to, have some exciting testimony here tonight, talking about the things that the Lord will do for you. Sometimes he does things even when we're not faithful. But we want to learn how to live a faithful life, a life of faith and dedication to the Lord, so that we can, like a carpenter uses his tools, we can expect God to do the things that we need him to do. So anyway, we have Andy Peterson here from Tennessee. And we're going to hear an exciting story that, had me on the edge of my chair, listening to him tell me how he got his head out of a lion's mouth. How you doing, Andy?
I'm good, Pastor. Good to see you again. I appreciate the open door to share this story with your listeners.
Well, we're excited about meeting new believers and seeing all what God is doing. Sometimes we can just get so tunnel vision in what we're doing that we kind of miss the boat of all the great things and sometimes greater things that God is doing. So we're fortunate and blessed to have you on this live interview this evening with our friends and our guests and some of our supporters. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself before we show the preview?
Sure. Well, you said Andy Peterson, and so that's who I am with Lion King Ministries, and I'll tell you a little bit later how Lion King Ministries came about. But I live in Tennessee and married for 16 years to a beautiful, godly wife that keeps me in line, and I got two teenagers, a boy and a girl. Both, the plus is we're all plugged into church, and that's cool. As a family, we're serving together. And there is no greater joy than that as a dad to see your kids plugged in, one's playing drums and one's doing iMove and the wife sings on the ensemble team with the choir. And I'm a deacon at our church. So, we all have roles in the church to just help, praise and prayer and share the gospel. But I'm an old Minnesota boy. I got smart and moved south. Sorry, guys. You enjoy that the cold in the winters. I'll stay down here a little warmer.
Hey, Andy, I got a scholarship to college to play basketball, and I was in the Philadelphia area. And it's like so many young people, I got anxious, and so I transferred to the University of Wisconsin Whitewater. Okay, and I'm telling you, I was shocked when in September we were getting frost and it was in the 20s, and I said, not for me. I'm out of here.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I thought about walking across campus, and they were telling me stories, Andy, about it being 20 below zero in the dead of winter. And I said, I don't think so. I didn't love basketball that much.
Well, and that's you add a wind chill to that, you could be 40, 50, 60 below. I'll actually be about an hour, an hour east of where you went to school up there this Saturday in Kenosha, Wisconsin, right there on the lake. So thankfully the snow hasn't hit yet. It's not that cold.
You didn't want to wait until winter to go?
Nah, there's times in 20 years, I've had truly an honor to share this story that I'm going to tonight. And it was hands down the most terrifying moment of my life. I realized that there's no reset. I realized that this is real. I mean, as raw as it gets. This is not a game anymore. And my life literally hung, in the jaws of a lion.
And one thing I want to ask you, Andy, what's the first thing that crossed your mind when this mountain lion came at you?
I've known, see, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is the power of these lions. These lions are so, I mean, over in Africa, they hunt in packs. Over here, it's usually solo. You might get one that, you know, they hunt together, but it's very rare. They usually have a 50 to 150 square mile radius. They love the surprise ambush attack. They go for the head and neck area and sever the spine and bust the vertebrae, and then they hold whatever it is, stop breathing. Deer is their favorite animal. Where there's deer, there are mountain lions. I know some of the authorities say otherwise, but I think the hunting cameras prove that wrong. So, you know, hard and be smart, and but these animals, and Pastor, I know you're a big guy. You know, you've seen a weight or two in your lifetime. So if you would put 100 pounds in your mouth and start at one goal line and sprint to the other goal line 100 yards away without using your hands, that 100 pounds is still locked in your mouth, and then jump onto a basketball rim, which is 10 feet, not using your hands. That's the power of these animals. You know, they can put a deer in their mouth and sprint and dart up a tree before, you know, quicker than you and I can. They can run 50 miles an hour in a chase. Bolt was the fastest guy that I know we've got on record with the Olympic Games at 28 miles an hour about. So more than double almost us. That animal or that weight in their mouth, double that, you know, 2 basketball rims, 20 feet. So on a standstill, Pastor, if you stood up, no running start, and just jumped as far as you can, nor I would get close to 40 feet. A basketball court is 50 feet wide, so not quite that, but these animals can jump that. So I knew that these animals, you know, I'm 5'6", you know, I'm not the biggest guy out there on the field, and I knew when I saw that lion, I was in trouble. I knew when that lion locked onto me, I was really in trouble, because it's game on. This is real, you know, and it's really up to, I could fight for my life, but I'm outnumbered. I mean, there's razor sharp claws on each paw. The jaws are just as powerful as you get. I knew I was in trouble.
Well, let's go back a little bit, because at that time were you a park ranger or something of that nature?
I was actually a park ranger out in Denver, Colorado, city of Lakewood, actually, up against the Red Rocks and the foothills there. But all of this started in 15 miles southwest of Denver at a park called Roxborough State Park. And they have 4 trails at this park. 2 small ones, a north and south, a small half-mile one or so, right kind of in the center of the park. My favorite was a 3.2-mile hike, 1,000-foot incline, about a 45-degree angle, had switchbacks up the mountain, and sitting up on top. I would take this once a week, and it was awesome because you couldn't bring horses or bikes or dogs on this. I mean, it was tranquil, it was peaceful, just breathtaking views. You know, sitting up on top, you can see an hour drive, 60 miles away, Denver International Airport. Past that was the plains as far as your eyes could go. Everything on the north side, if you're looking out at the plains up on the north, on your left side, you followed the mountain ranges, and way up there, an hour drive, it's Boulder and Estes Park and Rocky Mountain National Park. And the mountains, you know, the big 14ers, they call them, with the snow peaks. Everything was behind you, just this huge mountain ranges behind you. So I loved the park. I mean, I loved the mountains. That's one thing why I moved there from Minnesota.
So this was territory or terrain that you were familiar with?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I took it once a month or once a week. And, you know, April 30th came by. I woke up late, and it was about noon. The day was absolutely stunning. I mean, I woke up and I walked outside, and there wasn't a bit of wind. There wasn't not one cloud in the sky. Just a gorgeous 80-degree day. You know, and I was like, hey, you know, I got a bunch of errands to do, but let me get to the park and get a quick hike in, and, you know, just kind of a time. It was really a timeout from city life and school, and just kind of a timeout, almost a little refuge place, if you will.
What was your duties? What was your job description as a park ranger? And was this a park that you patrolled?
Yes, sir. Chatfield State Park is not far from City of Lakewood parks. City of Lakewood is right up there against C470, and some people know the Red Rocks Amphitheater is right there, you know, in view. You can see that, and Dinosaur Ridge, and all that's right there. But I was a gate attendant dispatcher at Chatfield State Park a little bit prior to that, and then this door opened up for me to be a ranger at the city for the City of Lakewood parks. So for the City of Lakewood, we patrolled all the greenways and the parks in the city.
So let's start on your hike. So you arrive at the park, and I mean, did you have a backpack? You know, like most hikers do. What? Tell us where you were at along that line.
Well, I showed up at the park. I had a little kind of a waist pack, you know, just nothing major. It's 3 miles, you know, in '98. You know, I was 24 years old. In shape. I'm 43 now, so a little more in shape back then. Okay. But I didn't, you know, I'll scoot up, scoot down, you know, and I sat a few, you know, half an hour up on the top, most of the times, maybe an hour, and then, you know, back to my city life. But I had the pack around my waist. I had a water bottle and an orange. Didn't think much of it. Little knife, you know, multi-purpose knife with all the blades. See, you couldn't carry a firearm in a state or national park back then because it was a felony, and I'm a park ranger, and the last thing I need is a felony. You know, okay. I'm out of job, so didn't think much of it. Being an old Minnesota boy, you know, walleye and mosquitoes is pretty much what, and the winters is what we fought with in Minnesota. So I didn't think much of it. You know, being young, and just figured I found a cool hike, and just another hike. You know, another day.
So you were on a trail that you had hiked numerous times before, and what caused you to? I mean, did you feel danger approaching this certain area, or what happened?
They have a sightings board at the visitor center. So, like, if you went on a hike there and you saw white-tailed deer or fox or eagle or whatever it may be, you could tell the rangers, and they'd have the name, you know, of the animal and a date that it was seen. And on the sightings board about a year prior was a mountain lion. You know, somebody saw a mountain lion in the area. Actually, about 2 weeks before April 30th, 1998, the park rangers themselves saw a black bear with 2 cubs. You know, so I knew animals were in the area, but I never thought for an instant that I was going to come face to face with a mountain lion. And so, you know, that day happened, and I said hi to the rangers. They knew me, I knew them, and off to my hike. Same hike, Andy. Yep, have a good day. And off I went. You know, I scooted up the trail. I passed one gentleman. He was on the way down. I got towards the top and passed a you know, couple ladies, and again, you know, and sadly, you know, I didn't know God. I grew up in church, getting dragged to church as a kid. Didn't care. Didn't know, didn't want anything to do with it. I was taught God's up here and I'm down here, and that's the extent of it. And to me, it was just, it didn't make any sense. You know, the pastor that we were supposed to talk to, sadly, well, he was an alcoholic. The teacher, you know, did nothing but yell at people. And I'm like, this isn't even fun. This is, nobody's happy. You know what? I want nothing to do with this. You know, that, you know, God is supposed to be this God of joy. And, you know, so I wanted nothing to do with it. So I was a little pothead punk. You know, not to get off track here, but I grew up in a busted home, divorced home, remarriages. You know, I had 2 adopted brothers out of the one marriage, and they're adopted because their dad beat them, and my other side, you know, that remarried, and I got 3 stepbrothers out of that side, and I have 1 real sister out of the marriage. Times we sat down or did things as a family together. And that was, to me, I missed that. You know, I missed the foundational, you know, like the solid rock family, if you will. So I started searching in relationships and drugs and parties and just running wild. And believe it or not, the first beer I ever had was in kindergarten. Took it off the counter, drank my first beer, and first taste of alcohol was in kindergarten, 5 years old. Mm-hmm. My first cigarette, I was in 5th grade, started buying it off one of my brothers, you know, and 7th grade rolled around, and a guy introduced a buddy of mine, said, hey, you want to go smoke some marijuana or weed, you know, some dope there in the field just outside of town where a Walmart was getting built. That was the first time I, got high on marijuana, and I fell in love with the stuff. So 15 years smoking dope as much as I could. I didn't want to leave the house unless I was high. Didn't want to go somewhere unless I was high. I went to classes, college high, took tests high. That just, it became me. I was that guy. And if my sister dropped a $20 bill, well, I snagged it. Too bad, she'll get over it. But it was almost like survival of the fittest. If I can get a little ahead, then I've done okay. If it accidentally bumps somebody else, well, they'll deal with it. And it really a sad way to live. It really was. And so, yeah, through relationships and parties and drugs, I was just kind of searching. My first hard drugs, cocaine, acid, hallucinogens, kind of came into the picture, 10th, 11th grade. Thankfully, I never did heroin, and I never did needles, thankfully. But they were there. They're all around me at parties all the time, One of my roommates walked down the hall with a needle in his arm and blood coming down, and his eyes were totally black. Not my wife, but I was dating a girl back then, and she had a dad out in L.A., and we drove out to L.A. and just to party. Had no idea who I was going to party with, and it was him and a bunch of his buddies in a trailer park. And next thing I realized, 3 days, almost 3 days, we were going on the third day, went by. When I walked down the hall, I went into this bathroom, and I look in the mirror, and I go, I was numb, I was cold, couldn't feel, I was just numb. And I realized we were doing crack cocaine for almost 3 days straight. I thought it was the same night of partying, but we went 2 full days without eating, without stopping, just smoking it up, and they're shooting it up. And next thing I know, 48 plus hours pass. So, being out there, I moved out to Colorado to kind of get away from the family. I fought big time with my mom. I fought big time with my dad. Him and I really never got along very much. No matter where you are in your life, when you sit and you make your mom cry all the time, it just doesn't make you feel good deep inside. But there's just that I can't, because I have to be right. I have to be, I'm the arrogant one. I had all the answers. Nobody could tell me different. And that's kind of how I grew up, so I took off. I took off to Colorado. I love the mountains, and I just wanted to find who I am and what I want to do in life. And that's kind of how the door to being a ranger opened up. And from there, that's what got me out to Colorado. So going there, bringing me back onto the trail, this was a trail that I would take all the time. So I shoot up the trail on April 30th, have the pack around my waist, and don't think much of it. Got quick, errands to do, so just a quick hike. And I sit up on top, and I check out the awesome views, panoramic views, and eat my orange and throw the peels back in the pack and drink half my water bottle. And I threw that back in the pack, and look at my watch. I got stuff to do and errands to do. I got to get going. And so I scoot down, start going down the trail again. And I don't even get, a few yards from the trail. And the trail itself is about 1 to 2 feet wide. And there's scrub oak on each side. So you have to stay on this trail because the brush is so thick. And so I'm headed down the trail in my descent. And 2 white and purple flowers, really bright, just right there on the trail, just stop me. Kind of, and I don't know what kind they are. I didn't see these on the way up. And, it just stopped me on my tracks, because there's nothing that grows on this trail, because it's all just dirt. And I kind of looked down and went, that's kind of neat. That's kind of cool. And right then a little breeze came and picked my eyes up. And then a little stronger breeze kind of came over, and the clouds were kind of rolling over the ridge like a front was coming in. And I brought my eyes further down the trail, and underneath this little pine tree was all of a sudden I saw this big chunk of brown fur. I knew what a dog was. I got German Shepherd dogs here at my house. I know what a fox and coyote is, and that's a mountain lion. That's a mountain lion. Right there is a mountain lion. 20 feet from me under this tree is this mountain lion. And I got so excited. I'm right there in front of me. And I realized, you could turn and look down the mountain, and way down in the bottom, as far as you kind of make out, you could see the visitor down there. And I just wanted to scream, "Everybody, check this out! Here's a mountain lion!" And I realized real quickly, Pastor, that it made you feel about 1 inch tall.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Are you telling me at first you were excited to see the lion?
Yeah. I mean, this is mountain lion in real life right here. I mean, imagine this. Just pause for a second and imagine this. If you're just outside, now let's say the fear or the danger is away, but anytime you see a mountain lion, even in the zoo, it gets your attention. They are that powerful of an animal. If somebody yells mountain lion and you're outside, it's gonna, I hope, get your attention.
Wait a minute. Had you ever had a sighting of a mountain lion during your tour at the park as a park ranger? What other animals had you seen before?
We've had sightings. There's wolves up in Minnesota, but we've had sightings in the park. In fact, the park has a smaller one that got hit by the entrance by a vehicle. I think it was about an 80-pound or so. It's stuffed in the office. So every morning I would walk by that thing and see it. But we've had sightings around the park, so I knew they were in the areas. Just a fool would have to know that. Yes, there's mountain lions around here. It's nature. It's out in the mountains. It's the woods. Of course, there's animals out there. But until you go through the attack, you really don't ever think, oh, it's not going to happen to me. You just don't ever think that.
But weren't you trained on how to deal with things like this if you were to approach?
Yes. Look bigger, which, hey, at 5'6", that's only so much I can do on
that. hey, couldn't you have climbed the tree? Of course, they can climb the tree with you, right?
They'd be up that tree so fast. They say look bigger and make noise and stare at them, and here's the deal. When that mountain lion on my way down that flower, and then that breeze came and it brought me down. I got to watch this mountain lion for about 5 minutes. And you could hear the snapping sounds of whatever it had gnawing on underneath that tree. You could hear almost like the breaking of bone sounds. So I'm sitting here watching this thing, and all of a sudden the head it stopped. And kind of the head came up, and it looked the opposite way. And I'm just waiting for this thing to look at me, and now it knows that I'm here. And it didn't. It went right back down, and just you could hear some more breaking sounds, like it was too busy, gnawing on its meal.
So did the wind take your scent downwind to the animal?
Yeah. I mean, it came over the mountain. So if me and the lion are right there, it came over the mountain. So it must have got a whiff of something, but maybe thought it was behind it. Really odd that it's very rare for these animals. I mean, they're like stealth. They're killing machines. I don't blame the lion for nothing, for any of it. But these animals are built to kill. Period. They're solid muscle. And so for this thing not to see me first, I mean, that just doesn't happen. They usually are locked on to who's ever in the area long before you even know it's there. But so I'm watching this thing for 5 minutes, and I realize if this lion looks at me, I got to have something. Well, I didn't have a firearm. I guarantee you today I do. I will protect what God's blessed me with.
Right.
But I had that little multi-purpose knife, and I started folding all the blades out, and I kind of make like a makeshift weapon of knives. And I realized if I land on that, I got so many knives down here, it's just going to take my own gut. I'm going to stab myself. So I folded all the knives in, and I'm just going to go with the one big blade. And I was folding in the screwdriver part, and it slipped out of my finger and slapped back into the case and made a little echo sound. And from the time I was watching that lion, and I glanced at the knife, and I looked back, blink of an eye, it was gone.
Okay, Andy, we're going to stop here, and we're going to take a break. And when we come back, you'll be able to finish telling the story, because I know people want to hear it. And there's a form of terrorism that most people are not discussing. The politicians nor the preachers. Pedophiles target unsuspecting families.
There is an urgent need to guard our children from sexual abuse. Please help us to protect children who cannot protect themselves. This is a great opportunity to literally save lives. Please join with us now.
Okay, we're back now, and we just want to encourage people to support Protecting Innocence. We're working diligently and fervently every day to get information out so families can protect their children from predators. Here we're talking about Andy being delivered from the mouth of a lion. A lion is a predator, and people that prey on children are predators. So we want families to understand that their children deserve the right to grow up without ever having to suffer victimization, and they can do so. Sign up for Protecting Innocence. Go to our Facebook site, click like, let us know you're interested, and we'll send you more details. So we're here with Andy Peterson of Lion King Ministries, and he's about to tell us how he came face to face with a mountain lion with a little knife in his hand or toothpick or something.
Pastor, first, thank you for your heart, your faith, and your ministry, brother. I know, I think that one of the most painful things is to see people give into evil and hurt those kids, man. I could never imagine. I don't understand it, but so I appreciate your ministry. But yeah, I'm face to face with this mountain lion, and the little screwdriver part in the knife that I had in my hand, in hopes that it doesn't see me and come after me. I had to have something.
Would you have like a Swiss Army knife?
It was similar with all the different blades that come out of the ends, like a multi-purpose knife like that. Yep, that's exactly what I had. And so I went with a bigger end, the 2-inch blade, and I folded everything else out, and that one made a little snap sound. And I looked down the trail, and I didn't see the lion again. And I literally start panicking and freaking out, like, where to go, because I can't see this thing now. I'm just waiting for this thing to launch out at me. And the trail kind of further down the trail did like this U shape, and my eyes kind of careened around the train there quick, and right down there on the trail, sure enough, I see two eyes, very vivid, very clear, very crisp eyes that absolutely grabbed me.
And what time of day was this?
This was mid-afternoon.
Oh.
Mid-afternoon. So it was out, it wasn't sunset or evening, it was midday.
These animals are not nocturnal?
They usually come out in the evening, yeah. They're, from what I understand, they're pretty lazy during the day. But no, it was just sitting there under the tree, gnawing on whatever it had, meal-wise. So either it felt threatened or startled or competition for its meal. I don't know. But I do know now, I'm looking down this trail, and my eyes are locked in to this lion.
Mm.
And past this lion is my car, the visitor center, and my way home. But in front of me is this powerful animal. I could have gone back into the mountains. There's a Colorado trail that goes the length of the state, but the last thing I wanted to do is go further deeper into the mountains. I was hoping, and please, where is everybody? Because if I knew if a group of hikers came up behind him, he might get startled and take off, but it was just me and this lion.
Mm.
And a stare off for about 7-10 minutes. And I knew, I stood my ground as best I could, and I stared at this thing the best I could, and I started backing up, kind of to let it know I'm not competition. I'm not going after your meal, and hopefully this thing just, jumps away, and I can be on my way, and it on his way. And unfortunately, that's not what happened. So as soon as I kind of stepped down enough, and the scrub oak, the brush kind of broke our line of sight, in a blink of an eye, this lion was right in front of me. Head came above my waist. I could have reached out and pet this thing. You could see the black eyes, or the black lines on his fur, down his eyes. The ears were down, the mouth was open where you could see the 4 dominant teeth, black on the bottom of each tooth. And it kind of I took one step kind of on the downhill side of the trail. There was a little opening, and immediately it launched up on the uphill side to get the advantage. And I took another step, almost like we're going to exchange spots, and now I can work my way down the trail in hopes that this thing doesn't launch at me. And as soon as I took that other step, bam, in a blink of an eye, it slammed into my chest and in my neck, and got the claws, busted open the skin a little bit on my chest and shoulders, and somehow I got out of the claws, and I jumped back up on the trail, and it launched again and just missed me with the claws flying out, just missed me. And 90 yards down the trail, I'm running as fast as I can, screaming at this lion. I got the pack that he busted around my waist, and I had the shirt tied around my waist. It was hot out, so I have the shirt and the pack and the knife in my hand, and I'm just screaming at this thing, back off, as loud as I could. And this lion's just no effort whatsoever walking with me. And at the end, about the 90 yards, there was boulder steps, like three-foot boulder steps, and I stopped at the top of those steps. And the lion, again, just no effort walking right with me. And I took a swing as hard as I can with that pack in my hand, the buckles and all. And I just took a swing, and the mountain lion just no effort, just kind of like it's slow motion, like he knew I was going to do that. Just backed up, and everything went right by his face. And I had the knife, and again I took a swing, and again it's like just slow motion. I saw the knife go right in front of his face, and he just no effort, backed up. And I realized I had almost 3 miles of trail to get down to the bottom. Nobody, and where is everybody, man? Somebody please come up and help me. And I jumped down that 3-foot drop to keep going, working my way down this trail. And that's the first time me and that mountain lion were the same height, eye to eye. And they looked dead in the eyes, and launched and slammed into me with such force. And we tore down the ridge, the cliff there, and snapped 2 3-inch diameter trees right off like toothpicks. And the mountain lion, the bottom claws were all in my knees and thighs, and the top claws, I'm on my knees, and you heard this loud thud as the back of the mountain lion slammed up against this bush. And the bottom jaw dug into the top part of my forehead, the top jaw in the back part of the head. You could feel it, and you heard 2 just raking on my head. The claws you could feel, and you could feel those pop through. You heard the popping sounds, pop, 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 as the claws opened up and just pulled me down like this vice grip. And I'm staring right down this mountain lion's mouth. You could smell just rotten flesh, like death of whatever it was gnawing on. And I'm just staring right down this mountain lion's mouth. And the tooth was right there in front of my eye. I had that knife in my hand, and as I just started digging as hard as I could into the throat, and I couldn't bust open that fur. I saw fur fly, but I couldn't bust open into that neck, because I was just going to start just trying to just let go, and would not let go. It was so tight. The strength was just remarkable. And the knife was open, and my head was still locked in the lion's mouth, and so I started swinging as hard as I can on top of its head. And every time I swung, the knife did not have a lock on it, and it was closing up onto my own hand every time I was punching this thing. And the claws popped out, took 2 more swings, a loud pop, a millimeter from my eye, ripped a 4-inch gash under my eye. The claws went back into my neck, sounds, and 4 more bites. I was totally helplessly locked in, and all I could do was just sit and listen to that just raking on my head. And at that time, it was like a faucet of red just started, of the blood just in front of me. And 3 things went through my head at that moment, because that's when I was terrified. I was 24 years old, man. I did not want to die. And I can't get out of this. This is as real as it gets.
Did you think you were going to die that day?
It became very real that I can't get this thing to let go of me. And that blood is mine.
I mean, it's so humanly possible. You were like, there was no way humanly possible that you could you could escape.
I didn't know how I was going to get out. I had that, please let me go, but I couldn't get, it was too strong. It was way too, it wouldn't even budge. You know, as hard as I couldn't get that thing to let go. And the three things that flashed through my head was all my old party buddies from school started flashing through my head. You know, all the days of getting drunk and high and passing out and just, you know, tearing up the town started flashing through my head. The family, you know, that I stole and lied to and made cry and yelled at, they all started, you know, flashing through my head. And the legacy of oh, how am I going to be remembered if I don't get out? You know, oh, this funny pothead kid. Oh, great. You know, what's that all about? You know, so what? All this started flashing through my head. Where is everybody? And I was so desperate because I had nothing left. I couldn't move. I couldn't fight. I couldn't do nothing. And it was just on me and locked into me like the strongest vice grip. And I just screamed out, God help me! I screamed out as loud as I can to this God that I could even care less about. I didn't know what else to do. The moment I screamed out, God, please help me, I get this adrenaline boost. Don't give up. Never, never, never give up that life I gave you. Don't give up. And so I reached over, our heads still locked together, and I undid that knife out of my hand, and I reached, my arm was coming back, and I followed over the face of the lion, and I felt two bumps, and I realized that's his eyes, and as hard as I could, I shoved my thumb into it, past the eyelid, around the eyeball to the back muscle, and the knife was now open. I took a swing as hard as I could on the top of the lion's head, and all I heard was this loud squeal type pitch come out of the lion, and the claws popped out and loosened up. The jaws loosened up on my head. I threw my head back up and jumped back up on the trail, and the lion's down looking off to my right, the sides all bloody from me, the eyes all gray and mushy from me, you know, poking it in the eye. And I realized this thing's going to just shake itself off. I haven't stabbed it. I injured its eye. So I started whipping all these baseball-sized rocks at this lion, and I saw this basketball-sized rock halfway in the dirt, and I reached down and I ripped that out of the dirt, boom, overhead, threw it as hard as I can, and it's big thud. I slammed right into the lion's side, and it shuffled the lion down a few more steps down the cliff, and now go, run as fast as I can. I started running for my life. From the time I first saw this lion to now I'm running for my life, about 30 minutes went by.
I mean, weren't you fatigued at that point?
It was a run for your life. Run. I'm out. I got it. I got away. I'm out. I got my life back. So I thought, I'd just run, just go, man, just go. And as fast as I could move, I was running. My legs were flying. I could go, just go. It was the end of April. There were snow drifts. I grabbed the snow and I threw it on my head. I didn't know how bad I was torn up. I knew my throat was ripped apart. I knew my head was chewed apart. I could see and I could move my legs, and I'm still breathing. And I'm going to run. I'm out. You know, I had a Navy SEAL tell me once, you ever get in a fight, you do just enough to get away. Don't keep staying there fighting because it can turn on you, and now you're in trouble. So go. Just run. Just get out. And I'm looking back the whole way hoping, please don't chase me. Please don't chase me. And the last mile of this trail is really the true part of this story of what changed my life. And I'm running down, and the huge set of ponderosa pine trees kind of shaded the trail a little bit, and it kind of did an L shape. And I'm running down this trail hoping, please don't chase me, because I had almost 3 miles of trail to run down, and there's still, where is everybody? I mean, somebody had to hear me screaming. And I run around this L shape, and I turn around and I look behind me, and right there in the first tree on the corner, there's that mountain lion staring right at me again. And I took 2-3 more steps and realized if I don't turn around and fight again, man, come on, I'm done. I'm tired. If I don't turn around and I keep fighting, that whole effort, nothing. So when I turned around, I was waiting to see this lion launched at me again for, I guess, what, part 2. And when I turned around, Pastor, I didn't see the lion's face. What I saw was a transparent face of Jesus. And even Oprah asked me on her show, well, how do you know it was Jesus? Let me tell you, brother, exactly how I know that this is a man that I had to know who he was. Because when I saw that face, the peace that rushed through me was unlike any peace that I have ever felt before in my life. The the safety net, the security that I felt, like just being picked up in his arms of, I got you, son. Nothing can touch you. I got you. Do you want your life back? Then start living for me, not yourself. Go on, get down there. Go on, you get to the bottom. I got this. This ain't nothing. But start living for me. And so I get down and I start running again for my life. And I'm going on these switchbacks and I'm looking down on my legs and they're just flying. Like I'm not even controlling them. I now had help running down the mountain. And I that peace that I felt is just is right there with me. I didn't want to leave it. I didn't want to let that go. That was just remarkable peace that I have ever felt. Well, the big pine trees kind of opened up into, so you could look further down the trail, and I saw one couple sitting on the bench, and they're looking all around, and I'm start screaming, 911, help, lion, lion. And they stood up, and I ran right into them, and they sat me down, started giving me something to drink, and I went, no, I got to keep going. I'm thinking to myself, this guy I just met on that trail said, get to the bottom. So in my mind, I got to get to the bottom and I get my life back. So I stood up and I pulled away from them. And those ladies that I passed on top, where I couldn't even look at them and give them a sincere hello, because all I cared about at the beginning of that trail, that hike, was I want the top by myself. This is kind of my trail, my mountain. I couldn't even look them in the eye and put a smile on their face and give them a sincere hello and, you guys doing okay? How's your day? Anything. I just, hey, on my way. I was so involved in myself that these same ladies heard me screaming, driving out of the park, turned around and ran back the first half mile. And I ran right by them again, got to a maintenance road in the park with about a half mile left of trees that came to the visitor center. And I just stopped. 30 minutes wrestling this lion for my life, 15 minutes getting down, almost 3 miles running down. You could see my skull, the 7-8 inch gash from one of the bites on my forehead was sagging down. You could see my skull. It looked like I had a red mask on. The eye all below it is all busted open. Big 4-inch gash under there. So I'm sure I was not the best looking sight running out of these woods, and there's a girl that was starting the hike. She had a big pack on, a hiking pack. And I just, help, 911. And her eyes get huge and she turns and takes off running. And she initially called fire and rescue helicopter. But seeing that, I was like, okay. I started trying to put one foot in front of another, and I was so exhausted. I was so tired. And all of a sudden, an arm went up over each pair of shoulders of two of those ladies. And they had just encouraging me the whole way. You're going to do great. You're going to do great. I thought I was going to die because I'm not running on my own anymore. You're going to do great. We got you. We got you. Just come on. It's this. Hold on. And I get to the visitor center, and they set me down on the ground, and the first real time I felt pain, like my feet were going to explode on fire. One's down massaging my feet. The other's up, patting kind of a rag on my face. Just, hold on, they're almost here. And you hear the hoof, 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 Flight for Life rescue helicopter. And they strap me all up, and these guys with masks take me to an 8-minute helicopter ride to Swedish Medical Center in downtown Denver. And the surgeon who was there for 20 years in the ER, 6 hours of surgery.
Wow.
He's never used 2 staple guns in his whole 20-year career in the ER in downtown Denver. So I guess that's the record, whether I want it or not, that I set, because it took 2 staple guns, 70 staples, just to
Wow.
close the 2 feet plus bite marks in my head.
How long were you in the hospital?
4 days.
4 days.
And in that hospital, I would be given a choice whether I liked it or not. And I say that because, one, the surgeon came in on the 4th day and said, you know, Andy, you had us shaking a little bit here. You know, we weren't ready for what we saw. And I want to use you as a test subject. And I said, well, you know, yeah, you patched me back up. Absolutely. You know, they searched 3 days, never found the lion. I had to get rabies shots in the head, 12 of them, which, man, that's painful. And but he said, Andy, I hope you understand someday, by the grace of God, you're walking out of this hospital. And I said, yep, thanks, Doc. You know, didn't give it much thought. But in that hospital, you know, my mom came out, and her boy, you know, and she's crying because her boy's laying, you know, all busted up on the table, you know, but my dad comes out. Fathers have such a unique, and in the family, role in the family. You know, kids are carbon copies. You know, when I was growing up, a boy, we didn't get along, and my dad wasn't around. And believe it or not, he had a Post-it note he gave me, proud of you, son. Really, the only momental things that I really got from him that was very personal, that you don't just go buy to the store. And I laminated that thing, and I carried that thing with me for many, many days, because it's like, hey, you know, I didn't let my dad down. He's proud of me. And we need that father figure, you know, and there's so many families that are just busted like that. And we wonder why some of our kids and youth are out searching. Where's mom and dad? You know? And so here comes this dad that he was a Christian. He was a Jesus freak. I wanted nothing to do with it. We maybe talked for a few minutes every 3 months. Hey, how's sports? How's the weather? Colorado good, Minnesota good, great. So he comes in this hospital room, and he says, everybody out, I want to talk to my boy. I'm like, great, here comes a lecture or whatever, you know. And he said, how you doing, son? You got scars like the old man. About time. You know, so we chuckle a little bit, and he goes, how you doing in here? How's your heart? I said, huh? He goes, how you doing in here? You know, you doing okay? I said, no, I don't know. You know, it's like surreal to me, you know. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out all what just happened. And he says, can I tell you about my best friend, Jesus? I went, oh, seriously? Well, I can't leave yet. Knock yourself out, you know. So he sits on the couch. Whether I wanted to hear it or not, I'm going to hear about his best friend, Jesus. Here goes the old, you know, church preach, you know, pitch. Here you go. Here's the sales pitch. But when he started talking about the peace, whether I wanted to agree with it or not, I knew that peace. I knew what he was talking about now, because I saw it, I felt it, I witnessed it. It held me. In the most terrifying moment of my life, it held me. So he was sitting there telling me about he doesn't have to control everything in life, and he has this peace throughout the day. And it hit home. And we said together the sinner's prayer that many know. You know, I gave my life to Christ that night, but I gave him one foot. That other foot was mine. Dad thought, oh, my boy is born again and awesome, and, you know, we'll go to church together and praise God together, and, you know, reunite our relationship together. But that side was mine. I could not let go of this side. That side, fine, here you go, God, because whatever that was bigger than me. Here you go. And 1 week, Pastor, 1 week out of that hospital, sadly, I was in my apartment stairwell smoking a joint again. I got right back into it, right back into my old buddies, my old party ways, my old party music, right back into the junk. And I went back home to visit back in Minnesota, and there was a church play where people go through situations of illnesses, accidents, addiction, whatever it may be, and they have a choice to make in life. And at that at that point, I was asked to will you be in that play and pray for people? I didn't know how to pray for people. But that night I knew I was at a crossroads, and I knew I had to do something. The rehearsal the night before, I was at a big party that I found myself at. And I had a joint and a beer in my hand, and the night got really strange, and the fire got really deep and hot, almost like the night paused. And I heard, as clear as I have ever heard in my life, the good Lord go, "Do you need another lion, son?"
Mm-hmm.
And I threw that joint and beer right back into the fire, and I said, "I'm done. I'm done running. I'm done." So that night of the church play, the next night, I'm supposed to be praying for people, and I didn't know how to pray. And all you got to do is say Jesus. He already knows what's in our heart. But that night I said, "Time out, everybody." And I unglued and I ripped my foot out of my old ways, and I put it on God's path. And as soon as I did that again, that same peace that I felt when I saw his face, that same peace that I felt when me and my dad were talking and praying in the hospital, I felt that again. And that's how I got it. That's how I get it back, is I put both feet on his path. I got to be all in for Christ. I can't do this only when I want something or when life gets hard. I got to be all in for him. And that peace and that joy and that hope is always, always there now. But now I'm trying to, not just how can I be happy, how can I make my family happy, or my friends, or people I don't even know? How can I help them in life?
And Jesus breaks the power of self-centeredness in our lives. And, there's so much going on in our country. This is a message that people really need to hear. What happened in Las Vegas, and it just continues on and on. And to some, as sad as that situation was, there are some people that day, they looked at their lion, and they survived, and they have another chance to, get things right with God and to live a different lifestyle. So, I mean, we have a few more minutes. What would you tell the person that this message has spoken to? It's spoken to them very strong. Their lion might be drugs. I mean, their problem in their life, they might be addicted to drugs. They might have children that are addicted to drugs. There's something going on in people's lives, and it's crazy. What would you say to them?
You actually beat me to it, because everybody's battling a mountain lion of some sort. Regardless of the size or what it is, it's their battle. It's the mountain lion. The very first verse I ever read in a Bible, very first, I remember Dad saying something about he liked the book of Peter. And I went to a church. I knew I had to talk to a pastor out in Colorado, and I flipped it open to Peter. The first, you don't think God talks to you if we just pause and listen. 1 Peter 5:8-9, be self-controlled and alert. The enemy, the devil, roams around looking for someone to devour. Resist them and stand firm in your faith. And 2 Chronicles 16:9 say, for the eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to him. And it's really sad when you see what's going on in our country, where you can't even have a discussion now without being labeled something.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad that people, you and I met, man, we clicked immediately, like brothers, like we've known each other for years. I love your heart, I love your ministry, and that's all that should matter.
Right.
In Christ we are brothers, we are sisters, and that is all. We're one family, we're one race, we're one blood, and there's one God. Period. And no matter what we're going through, if we can just stop trying to find the division and the difference in people, and instead look for what is good in that person, or how can I help that person. I don't know what people would have seen on that mountain. I know what I did. All I can do is share God's love. I hope someday that people can grab onto that love, and that's all. And if they don't, well then, I'll just tell you who he is, and who Christ is, and who my best friend, Lord and Savior is, and I can't do it on my own. And I know firsthand, living for him, I would go through that attack 100 times over. to get the peace and the joy that is eternal and the hope that I have daily when I wake up, and the family. See, I have to have that relationship with Christ solid before I can expect to have a relationship with my wife or my kids or anybody else that's solid. But it's the rising tide lifts all boats, Pastor. If everybody had brand new bass boats and the tide came in, all of our boats are going to come up together, whether we like it or not. But that brother or sister over there that's got a hole in that boat that's sinking, who am I to judge? How can I help them either get in my boat so you don't sink, or here, I'll help you patch your boat or get a new one. And now you come back up with us. And when we raise...
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. If we can raise and help each other, our lives will naturally take care of itself.
And we have, I mean, with the disasters that's coming upon the face of the earth, the body of Christ has an awesome opportunity and responsibility to present Jesus. And Jesus, the Bible says Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life.
Amen.
People can come up with a whole lot of religion and doctrine and politics or whatever, but it's Jesus Christ.
And I hate religion. Yep.
Yeah,
I love the relationship.
And God does too. But I want to take this moment to tell people, if they're in the Tennessee area where you're at, they can look at your website. I will be posting your website on the archive of this broadcast so that people can look you up. If you have a need, you can call us at Spirit of Life Christian Center. You can contact us at Shekinah Ranch Foundation. I'm going to put that number up, but we want to be able to pray for you. We want to be able to, help you through the struggle that you might be facing. And Andy's heart is the same way. For all of those that are out in is it Irvine or Irving, California?
It's on the south side of LA. That's November 4th.
And is that Irvine?
I think it's Irving, California.
Irving, California. And tell us.
Or Irvine, I guess, depending on where you're from.
Yeah, depends on if you like my assistant. She's from down south. She might say it differently. But tell us what you're going to be doing out there in California.
I'll be sharing my story. I think it's a breakfast at Mariners Church in the morning. They got a cool event, where they do a morning breakfast. Actually, this Saturday, I'll be up in Kenosha, Wisconsin at a big church. At Forage Men's Conference, speaking out there. But I'm on my website, LionKingMinistries.com. There's a calendar, and I get the open door of just God opens the door, and honestly, I just want to share the love of Christ and how good He is and how He can help you with that mountain you're facing, give you the courage to bust through that mountain, give you the courage to rekindle your family and your where you work, or if it's financial issues or addiction or whatever it may be.
And so you are very definitely open for anybody that's hearing this across the country or maybe even out of the country to come, and you will accept speaking engagements.
If you got a prayer request, we got a contact page, absolutely, because how can I ever ask God to move if two things? One, I'm not fully living for Him, and two, I don't pray. If I don't ever pray, how can I sit here and expect His favor or blessings?
Okay, and we've got 10 seconds. Why don't you pray for our audience? And then I'm looking forward to having you back another time, and I'm looking forward to us having an event here with you in Dayton, Ohio.
Heavenly Father, I thank You for Pastor and his ministry and his heart. And Lord, right now I just pray that You just reach right through this computer, Lord. And anybody that's watching this that may be hurting or desperate or lonely, Lord, I pray You just fill them with a peace that they have never experienced, that can only come from You. Lord, I pray for a hedge of protection around each and every person and home. I pray for this country and the leadership, Lord. We didn't elect a God, we elect a person. My hope is in You, Lord. And I just pray that we can unite together and keep You, Christ, centered in that relationship, Lord, with you, so we can help each other and just become a country, Lord, that gives you the honor and the glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Bless you, Andy. Love you. And we're going to post some of your materials up. Look forward to another time where we can share the gospel together.
Honored, Pastor. Honor is mine. God bless you.
God bless you.